Hello everybody, my name is Alan, I'm from Sauber-Lab and today will be another video about Open Media Vault. This video I will show how you can configure FTP and how you can use it, basically when you are extending your house. And then you're gonna ask Alan why I want to learn how to install FTP and why I'm gonna use it. It's quite simple. Through the video will make a little bit more sense, but imagine that you are outside for your house and you want to access your data. Or suppose that you are in your work and that you want to make a mounting for that file and access your server outside your house. And FTP is quite a good and safe system for you to do it. So if you like this idea and want to learn a little bit more about it, we're gonna show in this video. But first of all, don't forget to leave your like, consider to subscribe for the channel, and let's see how we can do it. Before we start to do any configuration, we need to have some points in mind. The first point is you need to have access for your router, and in your router you need to be able to configure port forwarding. Otherwise, it will not work the way that we expect. And then FTP will be only working in your local network, what could be good or could not be any good. So this one is the first point that you need to have in mind. The second one, we're gonna install the FTP in Open Media Vault. So if you have another system, stop this video, go for another place, look for other video, because this installation is specific for Open Media Vault. So have this one in mind. After you have all those points in mind, then we can start to do the installation. First thing, we need to open the Open Media Vault, so let's do the login. First thing, this one is my Open Media Vault. This Open Media Vault, it's a virtual machine because I didn't want to allow to have one computer only run this one for do this video. So this machine have only 5 GB of RAM memory, and I think that's 1 or 2 cores of CPU. And it already have the Docker install, the Samba, and the SSH. Docker install, and why it's necessary, why it's good. Docker will be good because we're gonna install this image that is Linux server DockDNS, because we want to have a track for our IP. What it means, if you look for my IP address, you can use that IP address, but that one change time by time. If you restart the router or for any reason they change. So you need to have this one in mind, and this reason that we want to use the DockDNS for track this change. Also, other thing that you need to have in mind is that we need to have the doc install and the portainer install. The portainer is not necessary, but it's definitely good to have this portainer installed. So to have the installed portainer, we need to have the Open Media Vault Extra install. You can search there, Open Media Vault Extra install is really easy to do it. If you don't know, another video, leave your comments, in another video we'll try to make this installation. Here now we're gonna start to do the configuration for the FTP. The FTP, we need to come here in service, and here in service already have the FTP install. Open Media Vault already have installed FTP. This reason that is quite easy. You have the same section that you have your SMB, Samba, the rsync, NEFS, and the FTP. So we're gonna use the FTP in our configuration, but before you do any configuration, you need to come here in storage, share folders, and you need to have at least one share add in your system. Otherwise, they will not locate anything there. In my case, I have the share folder called home, so we're gonna try to access it through the FTP. I come here back in my service, FTP, settings, and here we'll do the configuration. It's quite easy, it's only basic enable it. What I change as well, it's the Massimo clients, the Massimo connections, and Massimo attendants. As I stand, come 5 to 1. I change only a little bit more because I feel that I need it. But in your case, if you leave this standard one, it's totally fine. So let's leave this standard one and put save. Before we come here and apply this configuration, we come here in FTP again and shares. We're gonna add our share. What share that we're gonna add? The home that we showed before. So I come here and put create home, and I put save, and now I already have my share add. As well, before I come here and apply, now we need to configure our user. It's already good to create a user specific to the FTP, or you can configure the other user. In my case, I already have a FTP user because I like the idea. But I can use my Sauber-Lab as well, but I will use the FTP. I select this user, share privilege, and that this user must have access for your folder home. Otherwise, they will not work. Have everything configured. Now you can apply, confirm, and yes. But now you're gonna ask, Alan, how I know that I can access this FTP and it's working? First thing, we're gonna use the FileZilla. It's a free application, and to try to connect it through this FTP. So let's open the FileZilla. If I open the FileZilla, everything in this left side, it's my local data, and everything in my right one, it's my remote. And if you look, I already have my videos here, so let's try to connect to the host. You can come here and add this host, but in our case we do a quick connection only to test it. So I'll put the same IP address for my machine, 254. I will use my user, FTP user, and I put my password. And if I didn't change my port, I will work with port 21 and put quick connect. There will appear this message that they will try to connect using this information. I say yes. If you configure everything correctly, now you should have access for your remote. I can come here in home. Here in home, I already have some files. I can come here and delete this file. Yes, I want to delete. I can come here and copy some files there. I think that this one will be too big. Let's copy it. This one, if I try to copy, they will get all the speed and how much time left and what they're using. And then I can see the traffic. Also, I can come here and stop and remove everything. And here's the data I can access the same way that I will access any FTP. So it's working and it's fine. Now it's done the job. No, it's not done because we still don't have a remote access for it and we didn't configure the rest. So now I know that it's working FTP. I come here in my router and I need to open a port. Remember that we told that we work with the port 21. And then in this case, I'm using the port 21. So we'll put internal port 21, external port 21, and I will use my IP address for my machine, that is 254, and I enable it. Maybe your router is a little bit different, will have a different configuration, but is the main idea. You need to configure it. Internal port, external port, and the IP that they will look for the machine. Having this one in mind, now we can start to configure our DockDNS. As I told, we're gonna use Linux server DockDNS to do this configuration. And if you look the architecture, they work basically in most of the architecture. They work in 86, 64 bits, ARM, and ARM as well. So now we're gonna use the Docker Compose. But before we copy it and create this stock, we're gonna look what we need to understand and what configuration that we need to have in mind. So PUID, PGID, you need to put, not necessarily, because if you don't configure a configuration, they will not try to write anything in your system, so it's not a problem. But it's good already to put there, it's not make any difference for your life. Another thing, time zone, we're gonna use your location. Subdomains, if you have more than one subdomain, you're gonna put here. Token, you're gonna be able to access it in your DockDNS. Log, only if you want to save log, then you need to put this configuration. Otherwise, you don't need to create a folder in your system to have a configuration. In my case, I don't like to save any log for this case, so I always leave as a false. But if you want to have a log when has been updated IP or what is going on, it's always an option. So have this one in mind, and we already copied this Docker Compose. Now we can open our portainer, and portainer in the part of stock, we can come here and put add a stock. Once that I come here, I save this one. I'll create the same name for my stock, call DockDNS. Time zone, I will leave exactly the same. And here my subdomain. So now I can open my DockDNS web page, and here have all my information. Here's my token, my user, and here's my subdomains. So I can come here and copy this subdomain, paste here the subdomain. If I want to configure all my subdomains, I can come here and put a comma, 2, 3, and continue on. But in my case, I'm only gonna configure one of those. So now I remove the volume because I don't need to have any configuration. Here in file log, I leave as a false. And now I will go in the DockDNS again website and change my token. And after this one, I can click deploy this stack. After this one, my stack should be working. So let's do it. So once that you configure your stack and put deploy, you already have the DockDNS stack. We can come here in containers, DockDNS, log. And if I appear OK or done here in the end, it means that it's working. So it's totally fine, but we need to check it if it's really fine or not. What way that you have, you can try to access your website. Once that you open your website, they should appear something. In my case, I have the proxy manager configured, so it will appear this page. But maybe in your case, it will not appear this page, so you can check the IP address to ping it. To check your IP address if it's work or not, you should have a look and say ping and your user, and that you can compare your IP address. Otherwise, you can come here in DockDNS, and this current IP address should update with your new IP address or your current IP address, and that you can compare this IP address against of my IP address in any website that I do, and that you should be able to have exactly the same value. But suppose that everything's working well and I have external access for it. Now what I can do? I can open my FileZilla again, and here in my FileZilla I will access my server in a different way. I will use my external website. I'll put here user sauberlab1.dockdns.org. User, I will use exactly the same FTP user. My password, I will use exactly the same password. If I didn't change the port, I will use port 21 and put quick connection. They appear this page, I will say okay, and now I already have access it. But let's try it again. I come here and I copy this one, and they already ask choose overwrite. I say yes, overwrite, and they are copying all the information. Let's cancel it, otherwise we'll use all my capacity there. And here's my date. I can come here and remove it. I can come here, remove it. And now I have access for my FTP externally. They're using my external IP address. Also, what you can do, you don't need to choose all time this FTP program. Imagine that you are in your work and you cannot install it, and you want to access your data for any reason. What you can do? So now I can open this computer, put add a network locale, put next, host FTP, exactly this one that you want to use. Now we'll paste data information, put FTP // and I use the port 21. So once that I configure or add this location, I put next. I don't want to log on as anonymous, I want to choose my user, so it will be FTP user, and I put next. They will ask you to give the name. I can leave exactly the same, or you can configure it. Remember, I put 2.21 because I'm using port 21. If you use any other port, please change it for the port that you're using, otherwise you will not have access. And I will put next. Here I put next, and that already appeared this page where I can do my login. I will put FTP user and my password and put logon. Once that's logon, they already appear my home here. If I open here, I have all my data. So now I can access it, I can search it, I can look, but have a key point. You cannot open it straight away using this FTP. They will not allow you. Copy this information from here to another location, and they pass it, and now you can open. It's only one limitate. You cannot only open everything the same way that you have a mount point, but you can copy everything from one location to another. Of course, some of the data will take a little bit longer or less time, depending how big and what's the speed of your connection. I have quite fast internet, so it's not a problem, but if you have a really slow internet, this one will affect your performance or experience, so have this one in mind. So guys, I hope that you like this video. In this video, I show how you configure FTP to have external access for your data. FTP is not the only option, you have other options that you can configure, but FTP is the easiest one to configure, and it's quite a strong system to use. So if you like this video and think that it was interesting, don't forget to leave your like, consider to subscribe for the channel, and see you next time. Bye.